Good evening, boys and girls of second semester. Good evening, University.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening to all. Today's topic is Salman Rushdie's The Free Radio. There will be two phases of this lecture. This is the first phase uh, of my lecture on Salman Rushdie's The Free Radio. What a fine, generous government it is that gives radios to persons who are so keen on popular music. Let me read out some section from text. I confess, I became angry. Indeed, I almost wept as I realized that Ramani had gone voluntarily to subject himself to a humiliation which was being forced upon the other men who were taken to the caravan. I reproved him bitterly. My idiot child, you have let that woman deprive you of your manhood. It's not so bad, Ram said, meaning the Najbandi. It does not stop lovemaking or anything. Excuse me, teacher said, but speaking of such a thing, it stops babies only. And my woman did not want children anymore. So now all is 100% okay. And it is in national interest, he pointed out. He pointed out. It is not so bad, Ram said, meaning the Najbandi. It does not stop lovemaking or anything. Excuse me, teacher said. Speaking of such a thing, it stops babies only. And my woman did not want children anymore. So now all is 100% okay. Also, it is in national interest. He pointed out, and soon the free radio will arrive. Free radio, I repeated. Yes, remember, teacher said. Ram said confidentially. Some years back, in my kiddie days, when Laxman, the tailor, had this operation, in no time the radio came, and from all over town people gathered to listen to it. It is how the government says thank you. It will be excellent to have. Go away, get away from me, I cried out in despair, and did not have the heart to tell him what everyone else in the country already knew, which was that the free radio scheme was a dead duck, which was that the free radio scheme was a dead duck, long gone, long forgotten. It had been over, fantush for years. It had been over, fantush for years. Let's face the theoretical challenges head on. What a fine, generous government it is that gives radios to persons who are so keen on popular music. কি দারুণ সরকার না সেটা? যে সরকারটা যারা একটু পপুলার বলিউড ব্লকবাস্টার শুনতে পছন্দ করে, what a fine and generous government it is that gives radios to persons who are so keen on popular music. কি দয়ালু না ভালো গভর্নমেন্ট, যারা একটু ওই ব্লকবাস্টার সং শুনতে ভালোবাসে, গভর্নমেন্ট তাদেরকে রেডিও দেয়। গভর্নমেন্টটা কতটা দয়ালু, কতটা ভালো, সাধারণ মানুষকে কতটা দেখে, তাদের ব্যাপারে কতটা সেন্সিটিভ, তাদের ব্যাপারে কতটা কেয়ারিং, তাই না? সবসময় মানে এদেরকে কতটা ভালোবাসে। না হলে এরকম যে যে গান শুনতে ভালোবাসে তাকে তাকে এরকম রেডিও বিলি করে গভর্নমেন্ট। দেখা যাক এই ভালোবাসার স্বরূপ। In an interview shortly after the publication of his short story collection East West 1994. By the way, this free radio, Salman Rushdie's free radio, is a short story which is collected from a collection of short stories. And the name of that anthology, name of that collection of short story is uh, uh, East and West. So East and West is the name of the short story, is the name of that collection from which this has been collected. So in an interview shortly after the publication of his short story collection East and West, Rushdie revealed that the book's title was inspired by his personal connection to its subject matter, saying, I'm quoting from East and West, from where the free radio has been taken. Now, this is how Rushdie has introduced himself in East West rather, AMD, East, West, 1994. So, what is Rushdie saying? I said to most people, when I started thinking of calling the stories East West, that the most important part of the title was the comma. Wow, amazing. East and West টাইটেলটার সবথেকে ইম্পর্টেন্ট পার্ট ইস্ট নয়, সবথেকে ইম্পর্টেন্ট পার্ট ওয়েস্ট নয়। The most important part of the title of that anthology is the comma that lies between East and West. If you see the title East West 1994, there is a comma in the middle. And according to Salman Rushdie, that comma is far more important than those couple of words, East and West. Because Rushdie felt that that comma defines his identity. Rushdie felt that that comma defined his identity. Rushdie felt that he was the comma. Because he neither belonged to the East nor did he belong to the West.
মানে এক সাইড থেকে ইস্ট কে দেখছে আর এক সাইড থেকে ওয়েস্ট কে দেখছে।
Exactly. And he is caught between East and West. And he is caught between East and West because he is an Indian Muslim. He spent his childhood in Mumbai, I mean in then Bombay. So he is Eastern Muslim, Oriental Muslim. But he is permanently stabilized his base in United States of America. Now he writes from West in English language. So linguistically he is Western, Geographically, he is Western, but his root lies in East. And this root never stops haunting him. This past, this root and the past never stop haunting the author. So he has become that comma in the title East, West. Let's read what Rushdie himself has to say to the original title from which the free radio has been from. I said to most people, I'm quoting Rushdie exactly, verbatim. I said to most people when I started thinking of calling the stories East West that the most important part of the title was the comma. Because it seems to me that I am the comma. Because it seems to me that I am that comma. Kon comma? That comma that is there. Exactly, literally in between the two words, East and West, or in between two continents, East and West, or in between two ideologies, East and West, or in between two cultural identities, East and West. Because it seems to me that I am that comma, or at least I live in the comma. I don't feel like a slash. Or na. Highest, if there is a slash between East and West, then হয় East অথবা West. রুশদি এরকম বাঁচতে পারেননি। কোনো ভারতীয় লেখক যে বিদেশে থাকেন এরকম নির্বাচন করতে পারেন না। Because the past never leaves you and the present never accepts you. I repeat myself, the past never leaves you and the present never accepts you. No matter how established you are in USA or in UK or in any other Western countries. Rushdie inserts himself and to an extent all other migrants into this title by using his own experience as the reason for his stylistic choice. He presents an intriguing contrast, the possibility that the space between East and West could be either a metaphorical, physical position, or a state of being. By using a comma which connects the two words, and I always spell world. আমি বারবারই বলি ওয়ার্ল্ডের স্পেলিং হলো WRD, যেখানে এলটা সিঙ্গেল ব্র্যাকেটে আছে। তো WOR single bracket L D, because my version of world is world. Because if there is no world, I don't care, there is no world. Or if there are words, there can be world. No word, no world. So my spelling of world is WOR single bracket L D. You can play with that even in your papers, presentations and answers. That world dichotomy, cultural clash between word and word. Rushdie demonstrates that what connects East and West are the people who occupy both. who are either living in that hybrid space. This is according to a theorist called Homi K. Bhabha. This is called cultural hybridity. This is called cultural hybridity. What is cultural hybridity? Cultural hybridity means means uh, a kind of cultural in-betweenness. You are Indian, you speak in Bengali or speak in Hindi or speak in Malayalam or Tamil, Telugu or Assamese. You live in United States of America. Your kids are Americans. Your husband or wife is probably American. You are settled in USA. You hardly come back to India. So this is where your identity becomes gray. This is where your identity becomes gray. And what does that gray cultural identity imply? The gray cultural identity implies a kind of cultural in-betweenness. A kind of cultural in-betweenness. What is cultural in-betweenness? Cultural in-betweenness suggests that you are belonging to both the cultures as well as neither culture. তুমি দুটো কালচারেই বিলং করো, আবার একসাথে কোনো কালচারেই বিলং করো না। You are both Indian and American, and you belong to neither simultaneously. Because you have rejected India behind, which haunts you like a ghost from past. And you are an American, but America would never accept you. American culture would never become your culture, no matter how much you try, no matter how honestly you try, no matter how diligently and how persistently you keep trying to be American, but you would never become American. For many reasons, you would never become Americans. So what happens? You cannot come back to India. You cannot press forward in USA. So you remain caught in a no man's land that is both Indian and American, and that is neither Indian nor American. Salman Rushdie, or most of the Indian writers in English, they suffer from this gray in-betweenness of cultural identity, this cosmopolitan transnational identity. And therefore, Rushdie has correctly identified himself not as East or not as Eastern, not as Western, not as American, not as Indian, not as Prachya, not as Paschatya, but that comma that lies right between that ignorable, that that little tiny comma that nobody notices, that nobody bothers to take note of. Yes, Salman Rushdie exactly is that comma that nobody notices, that nobody finds any need to notice, that nobody even bothers to notice. He is that comma. He is that comma, and all he does, he keeps getting sandwiched between two cultural cross currents, and that's why Homi K. Bhabha has theoretically called it in postcolonial studies, has called it cultural hybridity. So that comma becomes a cultural symbol of that gray in between hybridity that I have been talking about in postcolonial terms. Rushdie addresses the fluid and uncertain nature of cultural and national identity. In East, West, he complicates the status of culture in a post-colonial setting, playing with Oriental stereotypes. Who are Oriental stereotypes? Oriental stereotypes are those Indian categorizations or Indian characterizations which could be found in anywhere in Indian villages, like people gossiping, like people puffing bidi, wearing lungis, surrounding themselves next to a chayed dokan or panit dokan. One of my favorite students calls it laboratory because that is where all the kind of PhDs and researches take place in this chayed dokan. So this is Indian stereotypes. Indian stereotypes: bhir bajar, lack of discipline, law and order na mana public mob, violent mobs, communally indulgent mobs. These are Indian stereotypes. Rushdie addresses the fluid and uncertain nature. Rushdie addresses. Yes, 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 yes. Yes. Yes, anyone wants to contribute? Please do. Exactly, exactly. That rural India that we are, we everybody is familiar with, everybody is accustomed to see. You just have to go out in Grammo Bharatbash, be it in rural Bengal or rural Uttar Pradesh or rural Madhya Pradesh or rural Punjab, and you see these kind of gossip mongering, character assassinating characters. এই জানিস তো ওর বাড়িতে না ছেলে টেলি আছে, this kind of characters who love character assassination, who love gossip mongering, because that's how they grow up in, that's how they grow up with. And and these are Indian stereotypification that Indian writers in English uh, they tend to encode themselves in. And in East and West, he complicates the status of culture in a post-colonial setting, playing with Oriental stereotypes, accompanying the fallout of colonial and post-colonial relationships. So, what is the fallout between colonial and post-colonial relationships? The fallout between colonial and post-colonial relationship is that colonizers, truth is that no matter how much we mix with America mix with us, or how much we mix with the British and the British mix with us, the thing is that the subconscious colonial mastery that remain with the white skin. That white skin, that white skin, and that white skin. I'm telling you something. Skin. Say skin. Skin is not a. Skin is not skin. Skin is a text. Skin is a text. And what does skin do? Skin is a text. Therefore, any text does have a narrative. So skin also has a narrative. And skin is a text which narrativizes history. Now, if it is a black skin, then it is also a kind of a text which narrativizes the history of being colonized. Now, if the skin is a white, then the white skin is also another kind of text which has a different kind of narrative. And what does it narrativize? The white skin is a text which narrativizes the history of colonization, history of being the colonizer. Gora, yes. So skin is not a part of biology. Skin is a part of culture studies. And colonization is a narrative that gets narrativized through the text of white skin. And the history of slavery is also a kind of narrative, is also another kind of counter narrative, which gets narrativized through the black skin. Therefore, I call skin epidermic text. Therefore, I called skin, chamra, epidermic text. এবার তার ন্যারেটিভটা কি হবে সেটা ডিপেন্ড করবে তার মেলানিনের উপরে, তার কালারের উপরে. If you have a black skin, then it has a different narrative. If it is a white skin, then the narrative becomes different. But প্রত্যেকটা স্কিনের তার কালারের উপরে ডিপেন্ড করে একটা নিজস্ব একটা ন্যারেটিভ থাকে. And since each skin does have a narrative, so the skin becomes a text and epidermic text. Thank you.